Some pains feel embarrassing to admit out loud, not dramatic enough for sympathy, not obvious enough to explain. One of them is this: you didn't really get a childhood. Not because something visibly tragic happened, but because responsibility arrived before safety did. And this isn't maturity. It isn't discipline. It isn't strength. And it definitely isn't resilience by choice. It's something quieter and far more shaping. Here's the psychology of growing up too fast. 1. You learn to monitor before you learn to relax. You walk into rooms already scanning the emotional temperature, noticing tone shifts, micro-expressions, unspoken tension. Your nervous system stays alert even when nothing is technically wrong. Psychological concept. This is hypervigilance formed through early unpredictability. When stability wasn't guaranteed, your brain adapted by staying ahead of potential disruption. How it damages connection. You struggle to feel fully present with others because part of you is always watching instead of experiencing, which makes closeness feel oddly tiring instead of soothing. How others misinterpret it. They see you as observant, insightful, emotionally intelligent, but they don't see how exhausting constant awareness actually feels. 2. You became emotionally self-sufficient too early. You rarely reach for comfort. Even when you're hurting, you instinctively solve instead of share. Contain instead of express. Psychological concept. This is premature independence, a form of attachment adaptation where needing others felt inefficient or unsafe. How it damages connection. You come across composed, but distant people don't know how to show up for you because you rarely give them entry points. How others misinterpret it. They think you're strong, low maintenance, unbothered, when in reality, you just learn to survive quietly. 3. You confuse usefulness with worth. You feel most valuable when you're helping, fixing, supporting, being needed. Rest feels uncomfortable, like something you haven't earned. Psychological concept. This is conditional self-valuation, where safety and belonging were earned through responsibility instead of presence. How it damages connection. You attract relationships where your role is service rather than mutual care, and struggle to receive without guilt or justification. How others misinterpret it. They call you dependable, reliable, the strong one, not realizing how heavy that identity becomes over time. 4. You struggle to identify what you actually feel. You know when something is off, but naming it feels vague, blurry. You feel tension without language, sadness without story. Psychological concept. This comes from emotional suppression during development, when feelings weren't unsafe but inconvenient. How it damages connection. It becomes hard to express needs clearly, which leads to being misunderstood or feeling unseen, even in close relationships. How others misinterpret it. They think you're reserved, private, hard to read, not realizing you were never taught emotional fluency in safe conditions. 5. You carry a strange grief for something you can't name. You feel nostalgic for moments that never happened. A softness you don't remember experiencing. A version of yourself that never had time to form. Psychological concept. This is developmental grief, mourning the loss of unmet emotional stages rather than specific events. How it damages connection. You struggle with joy without guilt, play without tension, rest without internal resistance. Because ease feels unfamiliar. How others misinterpret it. They see you as serious, introspective, deep, not realizing depth came from necessity rather than curiosity. And none of this means something is wrong with you. Here's the quiet reframe. Growing up too early doesn't mean you lost childhood. It means you became something most people never have to become: conscious before comfort, aware before ease, stable before supported. There is only the rare gravity of someone who learned life early and carries meaning where others carry memory.